Hi, guys, and welcome back to the podcast which talks to all your favourite content creators, journalists, and broadcasters about the club they support and a little bit about themselves as well. Today, we're going to be diving into Southampton FC. Let's just say it could be quite a juicy episode, a lot surrounding the club, and I've got someone really cool to chat about Southampton. This guy is brilliant. He does great TikToks, great on the social media scene, and I'm joined by none other than Ringo Talksball. Ringo, first of all, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, mate. What an episode we
Good.
got lined up. We were saying off air
Absolutely.
that it's going to be a really juicy episode. But before we get on to Southampton, let's be real, we got a lot to talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about yourself. I'm going to do a surprise question here. You mentioned yesterday you were doing a five-a-side game. How did that go,
Yes.
first of all?
Well, we did lose. I did score last season. Well, it's just like a five-a-side league around where I live in Salisbury, just up from Southampton. I did get top goal scorer last season, but we came up against a team that had been put into our league who are a lot better than us. So I think we lost like 8-4 or something like that. So not brilliant, but obviously hoping to get the season going a bit next week.
So are you actually any good at football then?
Yeah, well, I like to think so. I mean, I've played just normal Sunday league my whole life. When it moved from under-18s to men's, a lot of my mates in the team went off to uni and stuff like that. I didn't, but I never really joined another team because I sort of focused on work, TikTok, stuff like that. But I play five-a-side. I like to think I'm decent. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Charlie, I bet you're better than half the Southampton players in the team at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, get you in the team, top goal scorer. I'm sure you could do a job in the championship as well.
I reckon
But
I could
going,
compare to some of our players. Yeah.
well, get you up front, yeah. Get to the Premier League in no time, I'm sure about it.
Hopefully, yeah.
But you're not really best known for your football. You're more best known for your TikTok. You've already alluded to it. Obviously, I think a lot of the people watching this will know you from the TikTok, Instagram, social media, YouTube, done a lot of collaborations with some big YouTubers as well. Can you just tell us about how you even got into content creation in the first place?
Yeah, to be honest, mate, it was quite an impulsive thing. I've always loved football, always supported Southampton, obviously. Been to the games my whole life. And I saw people, like the Ben Bowman, Seb, Rory. I saw all of those, come on my For You page. And I just thought, one day I just picked up the camera and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. Obviously, it started slowly. But, I've, amounted to, 15,000 I hit the other day. So, it's going well now. Consistency is the main thing. But yeah, I kind of just picked up the camera one day. Football's my main passion. You can probably see all around my room. There's Southampton stuff everywhere, but also just football in general. Mainly, Premier League and now Championship. Now that we've been down there a couple of times, but yeah, just picked up the camera and just loving it and keeping going. Really.
Oh, you said it, yeah. You're smashing like massive viewing figures with the championship content, the Prem last season. Been a lot of championship content I've been watching you do this season in particular. You've been, like I said, obviously a Southampton fan your whole life.
Yeah.
But what a season it's been. Maybe not to be a Southampton fan, but involving news. This just seems to be
Yeah.
every time I look at Southampton, there's always a new news story breaking every week. Let's start
Oh,
with one of the more recent news stories, shall we? Will Still being sacked as manager. Can I
yeah.
get your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, very interesting. I mean, to be completely honest with you, when he came in, I was really excited. Obviously, we all know about the joking about him being from Football Manager. Obviously, what he did in France was, it was pretty incredible for his age. And going with it was Rennes first, and then going with RC Lens, lost a lot of big players, and still managed to be the only side to keep PSG to not getting 3 points and finishing in the top 10. So I was really excited. And I still do think that come the end of his career, he will have a very good career. I just think it was the wrong time, the wrong atmosphere. We'd come off the back of a hugely disappointing season, almost beat the record for the least points in the league. So, and you can tell this season with a lot of the players that it's really affected their mindset. I think it's just the wrong time. I think, like I said, he's going to go on to be a good manager, in my opinion. But the fan base has been very split whether he was given enough time, etc. He was brought in to do a big project, but at the end of the day, I still think it was the right decision, purely based on the fact that I don't want like to gloat about Southampton, but compared to a lot of teams in the Championship, are Southampton's a very big club in comparison. We've had 11 years in the Premier League straight. We've been in Europa League. We've had players like Van Dijk, Mane, etc. So it's a big sort of pedestal to keep up to. And when you're sitting 21st in the Championship with just 2 wins at that point, it's really not good enough. And as much as it could be, a big project, it's a results-based industry. And if you're not getting results, it's simply just you're going to run out of time. And unfortunately, that seems what happened.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention all of that actually, because even like going back to the start of your point, so you mentioned you were quite excited for this appointment, and I felt that summed up not just Southampton fans, but a lot of football fans in general, seeing how this new style of approach was going to come into the
Yeah.
Championship with Southampton. It was quite an exciting gamble, a more unorthodox approach from the club, as opposed to, well, we'll look at it in a minute, rehiring a lot of old people who have already been at the club.
Hmm.
It was a gamble, let's be real.
It was.
Clearly
Yeah.
didn't come off.
The thing is, I think the reason why not just Southampton fans, a lot of other sort of English fans were semi-excited for it is because obviously I know technically he was born in Belgium, but he's primarily an English bloke, and obviously because he's got affiliations with England, there was a lot of talk of him in the press even when he wasn't managing in England. Obviously with his age as well is a big aspect, so that brought a lot of attention. Obviously there was memes around his name with the football manager being fined 22 grand or 22 euros a game. So I think there was a lot of expectation, and I don't think it's a case of he couldn't handle that. I just think that with the squad being the way that it is mentally after last season, I think like you said, it was a very unorthodox approach to appointing a manager. It was a big risk, and obviously, unfortunately, it could have paid off if we would have waited, but I don't think we could afford to sitting 21st in the Championship at the time. I think if it was down to me, I probably would have brought in a more experienced manager. But I don't have anything against the club for trying it. I'm all for trying things, but if it doesn't work, sometimes you've got to cut your losses and unfortunately take the hit and sack him and obviously cost the club a lot more money.
Yeah, because you mentioned there about how this squad is really being heavily affected by
Yeah.
last season in particular. It looks like just the whole mindsets of all the players, the team, it's at an all-time low, really. I know there's even a lot of skepticism whether they might even last in the championship. Could relegation even potentially be on the cards? We'll look at that a little bit more in a minute.
Hmm.
Now, obviously that you guys need a new manager. You mentioned experience. I've seen a lot of managers already linked with the club. I think
Yeah.
Gary O'Neill's heavily favourite to take over now, but you've got obviously old managers, Russell Martin.
Hmm.
Actually, one that shocked me, Ralph Hasselhouten, who's quite in the firing line as well.
Yeah.
Which one would you like out of all of them?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of links. You've got, obviously, I think, to be completely honest with you, the Russell Martin and Ralph Hasenhüttl thing is quite lazy journalism just
Mm.
because, they're old managers. They're always going to have some sort of link. I can't remember who it was, but one of the guys from Sky did come out and say that Ralph Hasenhüttl was basically never going to happen and that Russell Martin was very unlikely. The top candidates that I've seen is, literally today, Gary O'Neill's come out as the top candidate. He's the bookie's favourite. Obviously, our interim manager now, Tonda Eckert, he's gone up in the ranking. Well,
Yeah,
in the bookies as well. Obviously, got a win at QPR in his first game, and I think a lot of the fans are liking him from what we've heard from how he's dealing with the squad, his interviews. You've got other names like Michael Carrick, which a few people have tipped to maybe he will come into the running. You've even got people like Paul Heckingbottom being spoken about. People I've even heard like Steven Gerrard. Obviously, the big funny one on the day that Will Still was sacked was the hierarchy at Southampton wanted Frank Lampard.
I
Obviously,
saw that. Yeah,
that I mean, I'll tell you what. If that
very
happened,
ambitious.
yeah, if that happened, I would be more surprised than if we went up. That's how that's how surprised I'd be. It's never going to happen. Gary O'Neill, I personally, because I'm such a big Southampton fan, I wouldn't like purely because of his affiliations with Portsmouth. I know
Mhm.
obviously you've got a lot to do with Portsmouth, but he's come out in interviews before and said that he's a blue at heart and stuff like that. So not that means that I wouldn't want him as manager. I think the problem is when you have a new manager come in, you've obviously got a grace period. So if you lose a game or a couple of games, the fans will give you a bit of a grace period to put your tactics on and get the squad up to date with your style. But I think if you're bringing a manager in who has affiliations to Portsmouth or in any case a rivalry, I think that grace period goes out the window. And as soon as he loses a game, which with us at the moment is inevitable, I think the fans will be on his back straight away. So I think if they do appoint him, they've got to be sure that he's going to hit the ground running and get a run together. Because if he doesn't, I think it will turn toxic quite quickly. So I would be going with Michael Carrick. I'd be doing everything I could to get Michael Carrick in. I think he's a neutral. He doesn't have affiliations with us before or Portsmouth. I think he's got a good track record. I know he did get sacked by Middlesbrough, but I think he did a decent job there before the end. So I'd be looking at Michael Carrick personally, but it wouldn't surprise me if Gary O'Neill did get the job.
I suppose involving both those managers as well, like we've already spoken about in this episode, they're two managers. They've got bags of championship
Mm.
experience as well. Michael Carrick, he's been there, done it with Middlesbrough. Gary
Yeah,
O'Neill had a great time with Wolverhampton Wanderers. So I
did.
know
Yeah.
you said not really too keen on Gary O'Neill, but at least it would be some of that experience that I think you guys do need.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I'm not 100% against it. Obviously, a part of the emotional side of football with rivalries comes into it. Look, I'm sure
Yes,
he is a great manager. There was a point with Wolves, even in the Premier League, where he's doing decent. Obviously, did wonders with them in the Championship. So it wouldn't be something that if he got appointed, I'd be really against it. But I think it's just a little bit more of a risk from a fan's perspective. Because if he did come in and start and let's say lost 3 on the bounce straight away, then I think he would get a lot more stick than a new manager. Obviously, if a new manager comes in and you lose 3 on the bounce, any manager is going to be questioned. But look, if Gary O'Neill did get appointed, I wouldn't be really angry. I wouldn't be really disappointed. If anything, I'd probably be more excited to see if he can live up to the expectation that the board obviously have of him. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if we even just went with Tom de Eckert, just because we've had a semi-recently, we had when Ruben Sellers came in and then got appointed. So that didn't work out too well. But it wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, definitely. And whoever does take control, they've got a big job on their hands. I'm going to take you back to the start of this season. It did feel like at certain points there was a lot of excitement, particularly around that summertime, involving
Yeah.
some of your recruitment. So I'm
Mm.
looking at some of the players you brought in. Finn Azaz, who looked really promising, definitely hasn't lived up to expectations as of
No.
yet. Janda, Fellows, Scienza, we'll talk about him in a minute, he's goal. But some big names, but a lot of them really yet to live up to their hype so far.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, obviously I'm very much involved with sort of Saints Twitter, if you will, or the Saints space on Twitter. Quite vocal on it, giving my opinions. To be honest with you, a lot of Saints fans were saying at the end of the window that this is in perspective to where we are in the Championship, is probably one of the best transfer windows on paper that we've ever
Yeah,
had.
definitely.
Purely because you're bringing in the likes of Finn Azaz, who obviously the track record statistically was brilliant for Middlesbrough and Plymouth when he was even there. Tom Fellows coming in, he's one of the best wingers in the Championship apparently. Obviously, I watched him at West Brom the 2 seasons ago when we were there. And he was great. And you've got the likes, obviously, we didn't know much about Yanda, Cienza. Um, Yander's been good. He's been decent. He's got a lot of game time, mainly down to injury. Shea Charles is out for 7 weeks now. Joe Aribo is frozen out of the squad for a while. Cienza's been brilliant. He's probably been the best signing we've made so far by the
Yes.
looks of things. You've got Joshua Kwashi, Damien Downs. Obviously, our sporting director is Johannes Spors, who is German, and I think he did have quite a big. He had quite a big part to play in bringing in a lot of the German lads. Damien Downs was the big striker signing. He's been, I don't want to judge a player too early, but he's been quite frankly terrible so far. He hasn't showed any sort of promise to get into that squad. Joshua Kwashi's been okay. He's made quite a few mistakes. I think his defending and his athleticism is brilliant, but I think his passing there's a lot to be desired with that. Um, so on paper, it looked brilliant, and I was really excited. But now, 12, 13 games in, I'm hoping that this whoever the new manager is does get a lot more out of them. But yet to see that.
Yeah, So you mentioned all these key players, fellows Zaz. These are championship players who've been proven at this level, done great jobs, coming to the Southampton team, like we were saying there, just yet to really live up to this promise.
Yeah.
What do you put that down to though? Obviously, Will Still, I'm seeing a lot of people put it down to him, but do you think there's more to this issue than just the management?
To be completely honest with you, I mean, I do understand the point of Will still being part of the issue. Now, I'm going to talk more about Tom Fellows and Finn Azaz. Quite frankly, I think Finn Azaz has been played in his most natural position in the 10 a lot of the time. Some of the
Mm.
games he has dropped back to the 8 or had to be because of injury. So obviously, I don't blame him too much for not having a massive impact in that position. Tom Fellows, on the other hand, he is an out and out winger, right? His whole thing is go down the line, his classic step over, take a shot, cut in, or cross the ball in and dink it in. The problem being, with Will still playing a five at the back, a lot of the time that he has played, he's been utilising a right wing back role rather than right wing or right midfield. So I think that Tom Fellows isn't being used as effectively as we can. But then again, you've got to look at the fact that, look, if the manager is going to be stubborn and play a five at the back, then you have to adapt players to that position. But obviously, it goes without saying, we all know that's not his very natural position. So if he is going to continue to play there, I'm assuming the manager that comes in isn't going to play a five back. So hopefully, if that does happen and we revert to a four, Tom Fellows can be utilised very much more on the right, further up the field than at right wing back. Because at the moment, with how we're playing, he's having to do a lot of defensive work, which he's probably not used to. And then if he is defending, when we do start attacking, he's not right up there with the front line. He's more having to, get up there and not be as involved. So I think Tom Fellows is very much being utilised in the wrong way, personally. If I was the manager, Finn Azaz, I think quite simply just hasn't been good enough. I think we expected a lot. He was our most expensive signing, the shiny new toy, if you will, to link everyone together. Quite frankly, I think he's been really disappointing, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the one I'd be most shocked about as well, actually, Finn Azaz. Perhaps
Yeah,
if Michael Carrick does come in, he might be able to get that form back out of him
yeah.
again. But also, on that note as well, when I've been watching Southampton in the past, it just feels like there's no real chemistry among any of the players. Looks like hardly any of the squad really yet to gel yet. Do you think that's also quite a big reason why we're not seeing the best of them?
100%, absolutely 100%. I mean, I know a lot of other fans say that we can't keep going back to this, but that season last season, I guarantee you, has had a detrimental effect to a lot of these players. You see the players, even the Championship season before, we went on a 25 game unbeaten run with Russell Martin. A lot, well, not a lot, but there's a good chunk of this squad that played in that. In that team, there's a big part of this squad which played in the team last year. But I think when you have a season like that and you're so used to losing, obviously we don't know what happened behind the scenes with Russell Martin, Ivan Juric, people like that, with how they dealt with the players in that regard. But I think when you come off the back of a season like that, I don't think the players have done their best to try and get over that, because it does seem that when we're conceding goals, it's just the same thing. It's just down tools and just accept it. Oh, we've lost anyway. Let's not even try and get back into that. I did think that that was going to be gone. Look at Wrexham on the first game of the season. We were 1-0 down. An amazing free kick from Manning and a slightly, lucky winner. But I thought that was going to be, we're 1-0 down. We've come back to 2-1. Surely now the players realise we're in an easier league. And we've got a squad worth however many hundreds of millions compared to, people like Oxford, whose squad probably isn't even worth 100 million. We should just be rolling teams. But I think it is such a big part of football. Me and my dad always say this. You can have Ronaldo and Messi up front, but if there's no momentum and there's no belief and there's no self-confidence, you may as well have Billy Sharp up front. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's a big problem. I hope the new manager can drill something into them to get them out of this sort of mindset of just being really defeatist. And if we do concede a goal, well, that's it, we've lost the game. So it's a big problem. But and the manager that comes in, whether that be Tonderecker or a new manager, has a big job on their hands to pretty much reverse the mentality of the entire squad. But yes, currently I think it is one of the biggest issues. Yeah,
You brought up that key word as well, consistency. Literally, if you go to any club, any team, ask the management what's so important about getting a run together, really.
yeah.
Consistency is always a word that crops up. Do you also think that's why you've been so poor in terms of obviously you've had a merry-go-round of managers, the last few appointments, they have not done well whatsoever. It's killed any sort of momentum being allowed to happen, and it's also sort of killed any sort of consistency, allow him to flourish. So, on that note, how important is it that you find a manager who's now going to be long term as well, so you can start to build that consistency back again?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, going back to Will Still, I mean, that was the plan with Will Still. He's a young manager, like you said, quite an orthodox appointment. The plan was for him to have a big project, 2, 3 years, get us back to the Premier League, start building, bring his players in, merge the team into the way that we want, but it just hasn't happened. I think the new manager that comes in, we're basically at a point where if this manager doesn't work, then it really does all go on the owners, because
Mm.
this manager that comes in, if that's going to be our fourth or fifth or sixth manager in the last 2 years, if you count interim managers as well, there is no squad in the world that can put a run of form and have lots of confidence and have a lot of self belief. If you're constantly switching managers, ethoses, tactics, it's just never going to work. So I think, yes, it's a results based industry, but whoever comes in, they have to get this appointment right, because if they don't, there's big problems coming. And honestly, if they don't, I could see us. I genuinely don't believe we will go down. I think even if there's not that massive squad unity or massive confidence, I think the squad's simply too good to go down. I think you will just grind out results like a QPR or something like that, just because of the pure quality, even individual quality of like a Cienza or something like that. But I think there's a high chance if we don't start getting a run together and a manager that can really merge the squad together, there's a very high chance we do what Sunderland did. Look at people like that, a Stoke, a West Brom, where you go down and you just get stuck in the Championship and
Yes.
sucked in for the next, 8, 10 years maybe, especially when parachute payments start to fizzle out as well. Then there's a real problem there.
What do you think then, in terms of the board, they're setting out for what they
Yeah.
want this season and long term as well? Is it just about this season staying up in the league and maybe over the next 2, 3 seasons looking to get back into the Premier League, or will they be wanting more in that first initial season?
I mean, I can promise you one thing, that they are expecting us to go up this season, which is now seems
It's
a big
nuts, isn't
ask.
it? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, they've said from the start that we want to bounce straight back up. I mean, I think that's very obvious for any team that goes down from the Premier League. Your whole goal, like a Leeds when we beat them in the playoff final, they managed to do it the next year and completely just go run rampant in the league, really. But they still had a lot of their key players. I think that it is really key. Like I said about a Leeds, they just kept going. The board, they're a weird bunch. I'll be honest. They're very flippant. They seem to go really in on one person, and they seem to just sack them and then get someone else in. They never seem to make a correct decision. You look at Oriol Romeu coming in recently today or yesterday. He said in his first interview to help the team get back to the Premier League. So I think there is still a feeling around the club that that's where our club belongs. Obviously, a lot of other fans would laugh at that. But I think if you look at the recent history of the club, that is, where we have been for the majority. So I think there is still an expectation that we, at least get the playoffs. But I'm not even confident that we will get there because of how far adrift we are already. And like you said, if we can't put a run together of 10, 15 games unbeaten, then, you're looking at no chance. You're looking at Coventry nearly on, I think, over 30 points now. We're stuck on 15, so almost half the points of the league leaders. That's a hard thing to grasp back.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take some doing, and if they can do it, fair play whoever takes the reins and does
Yeah.
manage to do that. But let's actually focus on some good things that Southampton fans can smile about.
Yeah.
So
Not
far, it's
many,
been
but
all
yeah.
doom and gloom. Yeah, exactly. Let's start with that new player who's just come in, Romeo. That feels like such a big new signing, especially with his past experience with Southampton as well, already going in as a little bit of a fan favourite
Yeah.
signing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is one of the kings of Southampton. He, ever since he came in, I think it was back in 2015, he was one of our most influential players. He was a leader in the dressing room. He never let standards drop. He was really like a father figure to a lot of people in that Southampton team. He was one of our best players. And when he left, I think it really left a big hole. And I never think he was replaced very correctly.
Mm.
Similar to Danny Ings, he was our star striker. When he left, we never replaced him correctly, which is one of the big things that our owners did very, very badly, which they still haven't rectified. Similar to Romeu. Obviously, his son was born in Winchester when he played with us. He's got a big connection to us. He was with us for eight odd years. So I think it is a kind of a no-brainer him to come back. The main thing that I'm looking for, he's 34 now, so I'm not expecting him to play every single game. I think the main thing that I'm looking for personally, I think all the other fans will be looking for as well, is for him to bring some leadership and some unity and to set some standards in this team. Because currently they're on the floor, and I think it's a very smart signing in that way. Obviously, I hope he brings some positive magic to the pitch as well, being that warrior in the middle, for the lack of a better word. Not letting people take the pee, if you know what I mean, and just being lazy, because I've seen it so many times where we'll lose possession of the ball, they'll start to counter, and our players are just jogging back, like no intensity, no care in the world. I'm hoping that's something that he can drill into them. Some players who have a really bad attitude might not go well with that, but I'm assuming they'll then just be frozen out of the squad, because even if you're one of the best players in the team, if you're not willing to work for the team, then I'll tell you what Romeu will tell you. He will tell you, you're not good enough. He'll tell the manager they shouldn't play because they don't care. So I'm really hoping, as well as on the pitch, that he can bring, be a good leader in the dressing room and really set some more standards with the experience he has, not just with us, but in England in general, and playing in the Premier League and the Europa League.
Yeah, so you mentioned about all those leadership abilities there, which does come with him. Do you think this will also be crucial for the incoming manager, whoever does come in?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I think with a manager, you always look at your club captain. You're almost like a team. You're the manager, club captain. You've got to have similar beliefs and ethos as to what you're trying to do. Jack Stevens will stay as the captain. Romeu's even said that himself, that he believes that Jack should stay as the captain. But I think that Romeu undoubtedly will take a very captain-like role within the side. And I think that, I think a manager would be stupid to look past his experience, what he can bring to the team. So I think if whatever manager comes in isn't trying to utilise that, then he's doing something wrong.
Definitely. And some more positive news actually. Obviously on the weekend you beat QPR. It was a pretty good win actually, I thought as well. And there was a few times in that game where I thought, oh, you guys are gonna spill it at times. But you
Yeah,
did hold on to the 3 points, you held on to the win.
yeah.
And overall, it was some quite good promising showing in that team.
Yeah, I mean that game. I'll be honest with you, from a Southampton fan perspective, is the polar opposite to what we've been used to this season. I mean,
Mm,
I know you probably don't watch every Saints game, but look at the Swansea game, 0-0. I'm not sure if you saw the
yeah,
Yanda
yeah.
miss that went viral everywhere,
Yeah,
but
I
it
saw
just
that.
seems like we were having 25, 30 shots a game, and we just could not put the ball in the net. Or at the maximum, we'd score 1 goal a game. We're still yet to score 3 goals in a game this season. But that QPR game is a polar opposite. Usually, we have loads of possession, loads of shots, and then we'll just capitulate and concede a late winner for the other team, or we just won't put the ball in the net enough. The QPR game, we only had 2 shots on target the entire game, which resulted in 2 goals. Which is funny because we'll still get sacked and we instantly win. Obviously, I think that's just that's a little bit of a coincidence. But yeah, it's a good win, but I'm not too convinced. 2 shots on target. They had more possession, more expected goals. They dominated us statistically, but a bit of magic from Cienza and Jay Robinson. Our good new academy lad after Tyler Dibbling, obviously secured us the win. But I'm still not convinced.
Well, let's talk about one of the goals in that game. I was watching it on Sky Sports, Scienza with that goal.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier in the episode, how if you guys are going to get a little bit of a run together, it may have to come through a little bit of magic, a little bit of individual brilliantness. And Scienza does look like he has that in bags.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's been brilliant since he's come in, not just on the pitch, but obviously I'm a lot more tuned in to, all of the news around Southampton and the quotes and everything like that. Ever since he's come in, obviously I'm not going to swear on this podcast, but basically he said in an interview after the Blackburn game where he scored, I was there, unfortunately, I travelled up 4 hours each way and we lost, but he scored a great goal and then we just capitulated and conceded 2
Yeah.
rubbish goals. And he came out after the game and he said, we all need to shut the up and just get on with it. There's no time for sulking. He seems to have really taken on sort of a leadership role. He's not the classic big, strong, hard centre back, but he obviously cares. He had a very interesting career path. He didn't come through the normal academy path that a lot of players do. It's very, very different. He got picked up at an older age. And he's had to really work for his, success. And now that he's come with us, I think he comes from very humble beginnings. He's not entitled, and he really wants the best for the team. And obviously, it's obvious to see that, in the Championship standard, he's a very, very good player and can do some real damage. Obviously, that goal at QPR was ridiculous. He carried it himself from behind the halfway line and made the goal out of absolutely nothing. Scored against Blackburn as well. But even in the other games, I remember the Swansea game was the one game this season that we were the most angry at. We didn't even lose, but we should have put about 6-7 goals past them. And Cienza was pretty much the main man in every single chance. He's running down the line, going down the byline, cutting it back. So in every game, he looks positive. He looks like our best player in every game. So I'm really hoping that he can sort of take the reins, encourage the other lads. And yeah, he's going to be a big part of it if we can do something good this season.
A position on the pitch which I thought you guys looked really concerning at times was that goalkeeper position. You've looked shaky in that position all
Yeah,
season. It looks like it's really been a battle so far between Bazunu and McCarthy, but
yeah.
does it still feel like, even, well, not considering both of them, they can still both be shaky on their day? There's not really any outstanding choice, it feels, as number one.
100%. I mean, that's another. I mentioned earlier that when we got rid of Danny Ings and haven't really replaced him ever was one of the biggest things that our owners have done badly. The other one is goalkeeper. We've had McCarthy at this club for probably more than 10 years now. We've had Bazunu for a good amount of time, and they've both never been up to the standard. We had Aaron Ramsdale last season. Like, when I say it is completely incredible how Aaron Ramsdale performed last season, even though he got 12 points. If Alex McCarthy was in goal or Bazunu instead of Ramsdale last season, I guarantee you we would have finished on single-digit points.
Yeah.
Aaron Ramsdale single-handedly kept us in games where we drew to Man City, we beat Everton, stuff like that. He single-handedly kept us in games. So it's always been a position that we're struggling in ever since Fraser Forster left, really. I mean, if it was me, if I had, the cash at the club, I would be bringing in a goalkeeper in January, no question. Obviously, it's quite harsh on those lads, but they're simply not performing. You look at even QPR, Gavin Bazunu comes back in after a stint of games out, and he makes a mistake. He, misinterprets the ball coming out, and then we concede, and then we're on the back foot for the last 20. Looks like we were going to concede. Obviously, managed to hold on. But if Bazunu hadn't made that mistake, we would have been comfortably at 2-0, probably got on and got a third and then won the game easily. So just those little margins. They're both decent keepers. Like, Alex McCarthy is a great shot stopper, but anything other than that, he's terrible. His ball distribution, his ball is dribbling, if he's ever got a dribble around a player, which is very rare. But just his ball distribution, anything like that is really poor. Gavin Bazunu is better with his feet, but then can have some howlers with simple saves that you should make. So I don't think there's a really obvious number one.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I think if you're going to use one of the keepers, just use Bazunu for last-minute corners. I'm not sure if you saw
Yeah,
the under-21s versus Real
yeah,
Madrid.
that was
Admittedly,
incredible.
it was some assist, to be fair.
Yeah, that was brilliant. And
But
he
yeah,
scored against Preston 2 seasons ago as well.
yeah. Maybe that's how we use him. Just
Whack him
have
off,
him
right,
up for
mate.
corners. Yeah. So going into the next transfer window then, clearly the goalkeeper's somewhere Southampton really need to look at up front as well. Do you feel like there's any other key areas on the pitch that you guys really need to look at recruiting well in?
Um, it's difficult because we do have a lot of players in a lot of positions. Striker is definitely one. Goalkeeper is definitely one. To be honest, a lot of fans won't like this, but I think left back. I think Ryan Manning,
Oh,
as good as
yeah.
his free kicks have been, I think his overall performances, especially in the last month, have been really poor.
Mm.
I like Ryan. I do. He seems like a nice bloke. Thing is, he's not inconsistent, but he can have a really good performance and then a really amateur performance. I think midfield is okay. You've got Shea Charles, who's brilliant. He is absolutely incredible for this level. Unfortunately, injured. Then you've got the likes of Yander coming in. He looks good. Flynn Downs. You've got a Rebo. You've got a lot of depth in midfield. I think that's okay. Now we've got Cienza, Fellows, Jay Robinson coming through. Probably fullback, to be honest with you, because we're playing like Mads Roerslev, who we got on a free in the summer from Brentford. He's okay. I think if you can bring in a left back, to be honest with you, I think a full back that can play both sides. So if you're getting a fullback in who can play both sides, I think that, goalkeeper, a versatile fullback who can play both sides, and a striker, I think you're in with a much better shot of pushing for those playoffs.
Well, definitely. I mean, you mentioned some of the players there, and looking at some of the games coming up, which those players might be handy for coming up in. Before I look at the long future, I'll look at some of the ones coming up. Actually, I'll look at one tomorrow. Sheffield Wednesday, by the looks of it, you're playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like that could be a potentially banana skin just waiting to happen with that one.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, I'll be honest with you. I think that would probably be the worst loss you could have this season. They're on -4 points, no fault of their own. It's really just Chancery. They've got a decent squad. I mean, probably not a decent squad enough to beat us, if on paper.
Mm.
But you've got Barry Bannon, you've got Jan Valery, who used to play for us. He's a decent player. Pierce Charles in goal, he's decent. So you've got some decent players in there, but I think for literally any team in the Championship, if you're coming up against Sheffield Wednesday at home, that has to be a guaranteed 3 points.
Yeah.
And if we don't beat them, serious alarm bells are ringing, and I'm not going to be happy.
Well, I have to say, I'm going to look out for that game tomorrow. You'll have to record yourself actually a live reaction to the game,
Yeah,
waiting
I'll be
for
doing a
some
match
good
day
clips.
vlog. I'll be down there. So I'll tell you what, if we don't win that game, that's going to be a pretty distasteful vlog. But yeah,
On the plus side, you might get some good clips on it, even some that might
yeah,
explode, hopefully. But
yeah.
I'm looking at some of the other games from now to December.
Mm,
Obviously, a lot of clubs use December as a real point to assess how they've done in that season at the start, anyway.
yeah.
But up until December, you've got some on paper easy games, Norwich, Charlton, but you've also got some quite difficult ones in Coventry, Leicester. I mean, this patch from now until December, it's going to be crucial for you guys.
Seriously important. I mean, we've just beat QPR, which could be the start of a run.
Hmm.
You look at Norwich, what they're doing with Liam Manning. How they've not sacked him yet, I have no idea. But we beat them 3-0 in the cup at the start of the season. Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich are a must-win. Charlton, you'd think on paper, but they're absolutely flying. They're up in the top 6. They're
Yeah,
flying. But I expect to beat them with the squad we have. You have to beat them, especially if you're bringing in a new manager, especially with the international break coming up after Sheffield Wednesday. I think you have to be beating a team like Charlton, as good as they've been. But I think, if you want to be up in those playoff spots, you have to beat teams like that. Coventry, very, very difficult game. We've seen how good they are this season. I'd be happy with a draw in that game. Not that I think it will happen. I think we'll lose quite comfortably in that game. Leicester, I think they've been just as poor as us, to be honest. I think goal threat is absolutely minimal. They literally rely on a penalty or a 30-yard screamer for Tarwu. So if we can limit that, I'm hoping we can get something from that game. So yeah, it's a tough run of form. I think we've got Millwall in there as well, away as well around Christmas. And then we've got Oxford on Boxing Day. So
yeah,
they're 2 games I expect to win as well.
yeah. I mean, another game I want to look up as well. The first one didn't really live up to expectation, a bit like Southampton,
Yeah,
but South Coast Derby,
yeah,
I really was expecting so much going into that game. I was telling everyone at my university, watch out for this game. It's
yeah,
going to be one of the best in the championship, perhaps best in England.
yeah.
Didn't live up to what I thought. Let's just hope the next one's going to live up to it. Do you expect it to be a lot more fierce rivalry, a lot more
Yeah,
interesting, I suppose, with what happens on the pitch compared to the last one?
yeah, I mean, it's seriously disappointing. I mean, it was my first experience of being at a South Coast derby. The 4-0, I think I was on holiday in 2019, so I wasn't able to go to that one. It was seriously disappointing. I mean, part of it comes from a lot of the rivalries through with the fans, but I know
Yeah.
that, the police did put some, obviously, we don't want any fighting or anything at games. That's just stupid. But I think a lot of it is that it was very well policed. All the Portsmouth fans came down in coaches. They were escorted into the stadium and they were basically locked into the away end and weren't
Mm.
allowed to leave until the whole stadium had gone. To be honest with you, I think we played them at a bad time. We've got a brand new young manager, loads of new players trying to integrate. That was some of the players' debut. I think that was Tom Fellows' second
Yeah.
game. So I think it came at a bad time, but that's no excuse. I think, obviously, we should be beating Portsmouth with the team that we have, the history. I, as a Saints fan, would obviously expect to. I think our players absolutely crap themselves, to be honest. I think they literally were just scared at the occasion. I think none of them stood up. Even players like Jack Stevens, I thought would, stand up to the occasion. He's an experienced pro captain. But I think our players completely crap themselves. And I think that it was a really poor game from both. I mean, their game plan was just knock it to Josh Murphy and try whip it into
Yeah.
Colby Bishop. Our game plan, for some reason, was just knock it up the pitch to a 5'7" Cameron Archer and a 5'5" Adam Armstrong. So I think both teams had quite a poor game plan, and I'm not really surprised it ended in a 0-0. But I'm really expecting this next game to be a lot more, fierce. I think, Fratton Park, for all of that, I say that Saints are clear of Pompey, blah, blah, blah. I think you can't take Fratton Park's atmosphere. I don't think you can downplay that. It's, brilliant atmosphere. I'm expecting it to be very, very hostile towards us. But I'm just hoping that we can get a manager in who's going to get them up for it, a bit of grit, a bit of fight. And I hope that the players are up for it as well, because if they're not, I could definitely see us losing the game if we perform like we did last time. But I'm hoping by then we've got a few more wins on the board. We've got a bit more confidence, new manager. And like you said, Finn Azaz, Tom Fellows, some players really start stepping up. Because if they don't, it might be a bad day for some Saints fans.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you're going to that game and Southampton don't perform once again, it could be a bit of a dodgy vlog uploading that after the game with the Pompey
Yeah,
fans jumping
yeah,
on you.
that would be one of the ones I consider not uploading. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Aside from that South Coast derby, obviously a big game for a lot of reasons. Are there any other games this season that you're really looking forward to?
Um, Probably all the new grounds. I've not ever been to Charlton.
Mm.
Never been to. Who else came up? I can't remember now. Um, who else came
I'm,
up in the championship?
I'm trying to think now. You've lost me as well.
Yeah, just
Obviously,
the new grounds. You got Charlton. I mean, Birmingham came up, but we've and Wrexham obviously.
oh,
Um,
yep, Wrexham, yeah.
Been to Birmingham before and beat them 4-3 in the last minute. Um, I've always liked West Brom because they've got a great place called the Vine, which is a good pub outside, good
Yeah.
curries. So for that, for a selfish standpoint, West Brom definitely. Obviously Pompey. Never been to Oxford before either, so I think a lot of it's ticking off new grounds. Always like West Brom. I've been to Ipswich a lot. That's always a fun day out. So a lot of the closer ones, to be honest, because travelling up to Stoke, Hull, they're all quite long. But yeah, probably West Brom, I'd say.
Well, yeah, definitely. You've listed some of the big teams in the championship there as the games you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay on the note of championship, and I'm going to ask you a very good question asked by one of my listeners.
Okay.
They want to get your early predictions for who's going to win the championship. Not just that, but who's going to join them in the Premier League. So the three teams that's going to go up this year.
Okay. I genuinely think, and I don't think I'm just going off recency bias, but from what I've seen, I genuinely believe Coventry will win the league. I think they're simply too good. Frank, they lost to Wrexham from a Kiefer Moore hat
Mm.
trick, and then that could have been a banana skin and go on a bad run of form. Went 1-0 down to Sheffield United, and then just picked it back up and smashed 3 goals.
Yeah.
I think the amount of goals they score, you simply just cannot ignore. I think they're just going to roll teams over. So I think Coventry will win the league. Who's going to get second? An outside shout is Stoke. I think they've been really,
Stoke,
really
you
good.
think they're going to keep it up then this season?
I don't. I think that's an outside shout. It really wouldn't surprise me if Ipswich start picking up some form and do get second. So I'll go Ipswich second. I think it's inevitable with the squad they have. They spent the most money. They got the highest valued squad. I think it would be a real shame for them if they didn't get that. So just for the sake of being risk averse, I'll go Coventry, Ipswich. Now, playoff, I'll go Stoke. I genuinely think Stoke. I like what I've seen from them. They beat us. I think they've been smashing teams recently. They put 5 past Bristol City. I honestly think that Stoke will win the playoffs.
You know what? I quite like that prediction actually. I hear a lot of people chatting about Stoke might be up there this season.
Mm.
It's just about consistency, really, it
Yeah,
feels like for them as well.
yeah,
Also, another interesting one, which could potentially be, well, go down, in my opinion, right until the wire. I feel like Sheffield Wednesday, they're guaranteed to go down, but who do you feel the other two teams likely are to join them in League One next season?
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of jokes around whether we'll go down. I don't believe we'll go down. I think that
Nah,
if that
surely
does
not.
happen, that's an absolute travesty. And the club should sell up straight away.
Mm.
So I think we're out the picture. I mean, like you said, I think Sheffield Wednesday will, very, very low
Feels like
chance
it's,
they stay up.
yeah.
I think, minus points, etc. Um, Now, Norwich would be an easy shout, but I think if they do sack Liam Manning,
Yeah.
I think they could get out of it. I don't think Sheffield United will stay this bad. I think they've got too good of a squad with Harmer. You've got loads of good players at Sheffield United. I don't think they'll be down there. So I'd probably say Sheffield Wednesday. I think Oxford are in trouble. I just think their squad they're okay. They pick up some odd results like a draw to Millwall, but I think Oxford will be down in there. Honestly, Portsmouth. I'm not even joking. I'm not even just saying that because I'm a Saints fan, but I think there's some games so far this season they really should be winning and they're not. But they're weird though because they beat Middlesbrough 1-0. So it's just
There's so many teams like that in the
there's so
championship,
many that
Steve.
are like stragglers around like the
Exactly.
16 to 20. But I'll go. Yeah, I'll go Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, and Portsmouth. Yeah.
Well, interesting. We'll have to hold you to that end of the season, clip it up, see how well you did. I'm doing that with all the
Yeah.
content creators, so we're going to do a little bit of a ranking. But this one, I think, is a more contentious one, and this one could get clipped up. And depending on how well you do, or how bad you do, even,
Yeah.
yeah, it could make for quite a good social media clip down the line.
Yeah.
Who's going to be winning the Premier League this year?
Premier League's a good question. I do watch more Premier League than Championship, I'd say.
It feels like it can only be one team this
Has to be
season.
Arsenal.
Surely.
It has to be Arsenal. I mean, their defensive record is ridiculous. They conceded
Yeah.
3 goals. I made a TikTok the other day. They genuinely could be on to beat Chelsea's 04-05 record of 15 goals conceded in the league. It is ridiculous. You look at their just defensive approach. They just don't even let teams have a shot on target. And when they're doing that, unless you're coming up against the game this weekend against Sunderland. I mean, Sunderland have been flying. So, out of the recent performance or recent teams they've faced, I think that'll be a hard test. When they come up against a team like a Man City or a Liverpool, I know they lost to Liverpool 1-0, but then obviously they'll be tested. But I genuinely just can't see a world where Arsenal don't win it.
Well, you said Arsenal for the Premier League. Could they perhaps do a double and get the Champions League with it? Who's going to win the Champions League this season, in your opinion?
I think Bayern Munich will win it. Honestly, I think
Wow,
Bayern Munich
Bayern.
they are brilliant. They've gone 16. I think I saw a stat the other day that they've had the best start to a season a club has ever had. 16 games,
Yeah,
16
yeah.
wins.
Mm.
Vincent Kompany's done absolute wonders there. The players they've got, I still believe Harry Kane is the best striker in the world. I know Erling Haaland puts his numbers up. If you look at Harry Kane's overall, he's just simply ridiculous. Still going at this age, I think he's unstoppable. I think Michael Elise has grown into one of the best wingers in the world. You've got Luis Diaz doing brilliantly for them. He's got 10 goals in 16 games for them already. I just think Bayern Munich are too. I just think they will go on and win it. I think they've got such a good momentum going. It will be Arsenal. I think it will be an Arsenal Bayern Munich final, but I think Bayern Munich will just nick it.
Tell you what, if you predicted that, I might have to if you come down to Portsmouth, get you a drink at some point. Early prediction, and you know what? I think that could be quite a sound one. I could see Kane doing it against Arsenal as well in the
Yeah,
final. That's the way it looks like it's panning out
Spurs
at the
boy.
moment.
Yeah,
Wow, definitely some interesting ones. We'll see how you do come end of the season, though. Like I said, we get a table all lined up.
yeah,
And then
lovely.
finally, just to round off this episode, I've got a few questions from my followers, listeners, whoever's watching at
Yeah,
home. So just a few fun ones to round it off.
yeah, sure.
Someone has asked, what has been your favourite away day just ever?
My favourite away day ever.
Your favourite away day?
Does Wembley count?
No, I don't think it does. I don't think
No.
you can count Wembley.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Favourite away day ever.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I'll give you my favourite moment and my favourite away day. My
Yeah,
favourite
yeah.
moment was when we were in the Prem last season and we went to Arsenal and when Cameron Archer scored to go 1-0 up. I've never been, I mean, if we're excluding Wembley, I've never ever been in limbs like that in my life. I think I flew down about 5 rows. It was absolute insanity. So I think that was my favourite moment. But I think the best away day, I probably have to say Birmingham when we beat them 4-3.
Wow.
It was. incredible. It was a day. It was in a February, and it started snowing on the day, and we just thought it was like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-3, 3-3-4, and Joe Aribo scores a 90th minute winner 4-3
I
away
think I
at
remember
Birmingham.
that one.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I'd have to put that one up there.
Oh, sounds great, both of those
Yeah,
away days, to be completely honest with you.
yeah, brilliant.
This one sort of links with the previous question, but out of all the clubs you've been to in the past, who would you rank as the best fans you've seen?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Do you mean as in fans that have come to St Mary's, or where I've been there?
I reckon where you've gone there for this question.
Yeah, okay.
So best home support, really.
Leeds were very good. Not just at Wembley, but at Ellen Road, we did beat them, obviously. But
Yeah.
they Leeds, I think, it's obvious they have a very good fan base. One that surprised me. I'm not saying this is the best, but contrary to popular belief, Bournemouth had quite good fans when we went down there.
Bournemouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
I've
saying they're
heard
the
a lot of
best, but
people say good
they
stuff, though.
surprised me.
Mm.
Aston Villa were very good, but I'd
Mm.
probably have to say Leeds. Just there, especially sort of at the start of the game when they're singing their songs. It's quite an intimidating atmosphere. So I'd probably say where I've been, Leeds. Yeah,
I've now got to follow up that question with who's been the best set of fans that have come to St
yeah.
Mary's then.
Shout out to Man City. They get a lot of stick for their fans. They were brilliant. Man City fans were very, very good. But I think the best. Can I give a joint answer? Because I genuinely cannot
Yep, yeah.
decide between Liverpool when Mo Salah scored the winner to make it 3-2 and
Yeah.
Newcastle. Liverpool and Newcastle and Aston Villa were very good as well, but Newcastle and Liverpool joint. I probably just edge it Liverpool, to be honest, because Mo Salah scored a winner to make it 3-2 against us, and they went absolutely mental.
Could
Actually,
imagine that.
actually, I I take that back.
Got a late contender here.
Millwall, 2 seasons ago, when they came to our place, Millwall, I've never heard noise like it. It was ridiculous. So I would say Millwall, actually.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good shot, actually. That's actually on my bucket list for away days. Really want to go to the Den at some
Yeah,
point. There's a lot of stadiums, but I feel like that could really have a great
yeah. Well,
atmosphere
we've got
there.
them in December, so semi excited to see. Obviously, I hope we don't lose, but yeah, when they came to our place, they were absolutely incredible.
Well, I'll have to watch out for that vlog, actually. And on the note of away days, I do really like this question, actually. I might have to start asking it in more
Yeah,
podcasts. What is your go-to scran for any sort of match day?
go to Scran. I think a Mackey's on the way up is mandatory. I think if you're stopping at services, getting a Mackey's. Oh mate, I love a pie. I love a pie.
Oh, a
Yeah, the
pocket pie as
classic
well, I
pie
reckon.
and a pint, double P,
Yeah.
steak and ale pie. I don't think you can go wrong with
Well, you know what? You've just made me hungry now thinking about a pie.
that.
I think I'm gonna have to have a pie for dinner tonight
Go
now.
grab one,
But it's
mate. Treat
been,
yourself.
yeah, definitely treat myself for the great podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, been great speaking to you, mate. Do you have any final words for the listeners watching at home?
Yeah, I mean, if you allow me a shameless plug, obviously, thank you very much, James, for getting me on. It's been great. Yeah, main TikTok account Ringo Talksball, WRINGO Talksball. If you're a Saints fan listening, which I assume most of you will be, Ringo Talks Saints as well. So obviously do TikTok. I will be moving over to YouTube and starting a YouTube channel probably early next year. But yeah, just look out for the content. Obviously, any support is appreciated. But again, thanks for James for getting me on. He's brilliant. And yeah, James, thanks very much for having me on, mate.
Well, I appreciate the plug there as well, mate.
No
You can
problem.
tell we're YouTubers and TikTokers, can't you? Well, like I said, I'll get all your details in the comments below, so make sure to drop Ringo a follow, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.